Do you want me to talk to you or the camera?
I don't think it matters.
Mix and
match.
When I make points, I'll go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Dramatic, turn to the lens.
Hey, could you do it maybe in an accent?
Yeah, that would be better. Welcome to Between a Mushroom.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Hamilton.
Yes, Shane.
Yes. So I mean, what we're really doing here at Telluride is a lot of different things, but we're just trying to get to know the people that help bring Telluride forth through, whatever passion they have in the mycology world. So I don't know if you mind telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Your interest, what kind of drives you, and what you're doing here at Telluride this year.
So I'm a husband, a father, a mycophile, and those are just a few of my many titles. I spent most of my career as a filmmaker, and I had a personal revelation while I was in quarantine in 2020, in March of 2020. I caught the last plane out of Nepal, went directly to quarantine in Colorado, and I started working on a film that I started finishing a film that I had started working on 7 years earlier. So I'd shot it 7 years prior, got back to editing it in quarantine, had a kind of creative revelation about wanting to only make movies about mushrooms. And that particular film was about my brother-in-law who hunts Ophiocordyceps sinensis in the high country of Nepal.
Wow.
And I got to go with him on the hunt, spent a few days in the high country, and learned all about that microeconomy and that species, and then got to track down Daniel Winkler and get his expert opinion, and I just had this deeply fulfilling creative experience. So at that point, I basically made the decision to really only make films about mushrooms. But the problem is you can't finance films very well. Even financing films in general is really hard. So even financing films about mushrooms, I think, would be exponentially more difficult. And I had already been working as a broker and as a consultant to large mushroom brands. And I knew what was on the market, and I knew what people were doing, and I thought, I'm going to launch my own product, direct-to-consumer, organic, high-potency mushroom extract brand, and then I'm going to use that revenue to finance my mushroom films.
Oh, nice.
And that was almost 5 years ago, and it's working.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so it kind of became like a full circle of I sell some mushrooms, I get to make a film. The film helps drive more sales, and then I get to make another film, and so on and so forth. So it became sustainable. And then as I am so this ties into Telluride basically
because you just had a film last night.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I mean, definitely we want to talk about that for sure. So, yeah.
That is for another time.
Okay.
And so I, as a mycophile, I went on my first mushroom hunt in 2009, and I went on the hunt with an expert. At that time, my first mushroom guru, had 16 years of experience, and he knew all the Latin names, and he knew some of the ecology, and he knew some about the relationships, and I was just completely enamored, like so many of us are when that spark ignites inside you with something you deeply care about. And he recommended Mushrooms Demystified and Mycelium Running. And immediately after trim season, I went to Powell Books in Portland and bought those 2 books and devoured them immediately. And then I spent the next 10 years just teaching myself about mushrooms, because I didn't know there was community. I didn't know there were festivals and Facebook groups and all of that. I was like a solo mushroom hunter, adding new mushrooms to my repertoire every year. And then got into cultivation because the Colorado mushroom season was so short, and then discovered medicinal mushrooms when I realized that my grandfather was losing his mind. And to make a long story short, it was too little too late for him, but not for the rest of my family. And so I basically quit my job and dedicated my life to fungi, as I was so perfectly advised to do by the great Gary Linkoff.
Oh, cool.
And, he advised everybody to do that. It wasn't just me.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry, I hope I didn't hit the mic on that.
No,
Thump, thump. So a big part of what I want to do in my life is to support mycology. in every facet that I can,
Nice.
globally. And that means supporting mushroom clubs, supporting mushroom festivals, supporting mushroom events, supporting other mushroom folks, other mushroom companies, like whichever way that I can. I want to, I want to see the rising tide lift all the boats.
Yeah.
And that mutualism is perfectly suited for the myco community.
Yeah.
And I don't need to explain that to mushroom people. Everyone just gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely respect and appreciate sort of this outside angle, I would say, that I think is a really unique perspective through art to connect people and inspire, and this spark, right? The curiosity, what you're talking about. I mean, that's what drove what's driving the science. That's what they call it, driving the science forward. You know,
yes,
pun intended,
literally.
With the van, and that's why, you know, I don't know if you have to check inside. We'll have you check it out, but we're also just like curious to learn more about, you know, how we can better as a group raise everybody and create that spark and kind of connect those dots.
Absolutely.
And like I said, with art, like you're doing yourself, we approached it from, you know, more of the hard science of just trying to create accessibility and tools. But yeah, I mean, do you think there's a way to combine those two worlds?
Absolutely.
I think,
there are stories everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you consider our community like an ecosystem, which it is, every creature plays its part. Like together, you know, as they say, biodiversity is biosecurity, you know. And as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, I see those narratives everywhere. And, you know, we need as much as like the community sourced, crowd-sourced, hard science, collective mushroom collecting, collective DNA barcoding, collective cultivation. All of that is good for everybody, as far as I'm concerned. And like, as long as we are individually doing the things we care about, then it's all good. It's easy to get lost in the work and lose the passion, especially if it becomes monetized. And that's a struggle I think everyone faces in their own way, but it's a consistent experience, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm going to find a time in my life when I can get back into geeking out with mushroom cultivation.
Yeah.
And when I like, in terms of taxonomy, I've kind of plateaued. Like I've kind of reached my, like all the species that I care about. And if I want to learn new wild mushroom identification, I have to engage with species that don't really serve my interests.
Yeah.
And so it takes this extra motivation to learn about canosebes and anosebes and cortinariuses and like all these mushrooms that I can't eat or make into medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow,
For sure.
I mean, I'm so happy that I got to meet you guys, and that like these bridges are being built, and that like, you know, there's like at least 10 different ways we can find to collaborate and support mycology in Colorado and the Western United States, and you know, who knows how far that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Spreading the mycelial threads.
Absolutely,
if you will, for sure.
What you might be excited about, like this year?
Oh yeah. So yeah. I guess, a couple different things. One would be like, you know, what excites you about the community aspect from year to year? Like, what brings you back? I mean, obviously, it's, you know, your interest level. If you didn't have your mushroom company, what would bring you back, and what would you look forward to come back for?
The thing that brings me back to Telluride Mushroom Fest every year is you, Shane. And it's all of you out there listening. Seriously, it's all about community here. Telluride Mushroom Festival has done a kind of beautiful convergence of academia and culture in this beautiful balance. And like, I love that. I get to meet my heroes here.
Yeah.
Like the first few times I came here, I was completely starstruck.
Yeah.
And like getting all giddy. And then I get to like chat with these people that I've been learning from through their books for literally decades, and find out that they're just down homies that are like totally want to talk and geek out with you.
Yeah.
And like, you know, some people say, oh, don't meet your heroes, you know, because inevitably you'll be disappointed. But I found that to be fundamentally untrue at Telluride.
Yeah. Case in point, we're sitting here, open up the van, getting ready to start cloning, and Trad Cotter comes up with the sample for us to clone. It was just like,
oh my
awesome.
God. I was completely moved by his keynote address last night. It was personal and poignant and beautiful and on point with like the myco remediation and applied mycology that he's doing is like,
Next level.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm so inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I'm interested in, always what drives me in the space,
Yeah.
is sort of the future prospects, innovations, things. Those are the things that sort of excite me. Is there anything on the forefront, the horizon in the next couple of years that has your excitement level?
Oh God, cold fire
Okay.
gives me a full-on myco boner.
Yeah, nice.
Like, I think that technology can radically change our environment in a really meaningful and positive way, and then, out of that beautiful radical change, it supports community and humanity to better survive the climate crisis that we are experiencing now.
Yeah.
Trad's work around targeting training metabolites for specific viral infections.
Yep.
To me, another huge advancement for humanity.
Yeah, tailored pharmaceuticals, like
Yes,
individualized.
yes,
Yeah,
and all you got to do is feed the mushrooms the virus.
Yeah, exposure, and it's like,
hello,
Yeah.
here, drink this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
which gets into like bioprospecting, and
Yeah.
that's one huge part for us is that, so as well as I do, like there's a very limited understanding of the functional mushroom space, unfortunately, and there's
Sure.
all these other mushrooms that need to be brought up.
yeah, totally.
This whole idea around bioprospecting is exciting for me.
Totally.
To be able to just explore different fungal genetics to say what is going on differently between them, and see if we can start mapping out some of these omics, like metabolomic data and all these other interests that might drive clinical sort of work.
I will read everything you guys write.
Thank you.
and for me, the other exciting thing is like I get to be a little science adjacent in the taxonomy world, because thanks to affordable DNA sequencing and equipment, like I get to like be part of making discoveries and describing new species, because we're all mushroom hunters, and like the possibility of finding a new mushroom that's been undescribed is real every time we go mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
And like now I'm connected into a network of people who are like, send me your samples.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, like I get to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And like, because otherwise I really wouldn't be doing like hardcore taxonomy.
For sure.
But now I have friends that do.
yeah. And that's what they spend their entire time doing, which is amazing.
Like the work of James Chelan from the Pikes Peak Mycological Society and his work with agaricus is really awesome. The work that Andy Wilson is doing. And of course, like, anyway. I won't get into that, but it's just really fun to be part of the greater contribution to science, even in a small way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the intersection between what we like to call the myco-curious to the myco-serious, and just trying to bridge that gap to create that spark of curiosity, to inspire people to just get into the neglected mega sciences we've all learned that it is. It's an exciting time to be around.
And it just basically supports myco-literacy. Across the board. To quote William Padilla Brown, I learned that term from him, and I think the work that he's doing is absolutely essential.
How do you think he does all that? I mean, I want to know.
Pure spirit, dude. Pure spirit.
Yeah.
That guy is on fire.
His gas tank is always full. I feel like.
He operates from a place of love and conviction. And that is like clear in the work that he does, in his poetry, in the energy that he brings to every event, in his speaking truth to power. And I'm totally inspired by this beautiful young man.
Yeah. Well, you inspire us. So that's why we wanted to chat with you. So thank you for taking the time to chat. And
it's my pleasure.
Handles, social.
Yeah, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me at hamiltonsmushrooms.com, Hamilton's Mushrooms on Instagram, Hamilton's Mushrooms Extracts on YouTube. Look out for my films. If you haven't seen my work, go seek it out. I really appreciate being platformed. I make my films for the absolute necessity to practice my craft. And if people get to see them, that's a bonus.
Yeah. No, that's great.
And I really hope to see you guys here again and elsewhere in the future. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing.
Yeah, no,
I really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, likewise.